and welcome to another exciting episode of the Super Fantastic Exchange. My name is Gary. Guys, I can't tell you how excited I am to bring to you somebody that was referred to me from somebody that I highly, look up to and everything. And she's like, man, Gary, you got to meet this person, this leader, this coach. And I'm like, all right, I got to meet her. And I had a chance to connect with this person, and she just blew me away. She was fantastic. Her heart was just something that you just don't find very often. And so I was like, you've got to be on my show. And so here we are, none other than author, life coach, just an all-around amazing leader, LaKeesha Hines. Y'all give it up for LaKeesha. Can you hear him clapping for you, LaKeesha?
I can.
Love it. LaKeesha, thank you so much for joining me today on the Super Fantastic Exchange. I'm excited. One, I had a chance to just connect with you and meet you. You're now in my life. And then two, you're on my show. So this is like a double win for me. So I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me. I definitely appreciate being here. It's a super fantastic opportunity. And so, as you said, Gary, yes, I am an author. I am a life coach, sex coach also. But most importantly, I am wife to my husband, Willie, mom to my 4 children. And that is my primary responsibility. Probably the most important job that I have is taking care of those folks. But yeah, I just have a heart for families, and I have a heart and a passion for couples. My primary goal is to try to help those families who have children with disabilities, because that is my life. My 18-year-old has special needs. And so I know the challenges that come with just trying to navigate that whole special needs world. So for me, I just believe that, God's purpose for my life is not only to work with couples in general, but to help save these marriages and keep these families together. So.
Yeah. Man, LaKeesha, that is for somebody to be able to, have this kind of experience in your life, living with an incredible child with special needs. And because there's a lot of stressors that go along with that. But so what you've done is you've taken your experiences and your struggles and the obstacles you've overcome, and now you're sharing those with other people to help them along in their journeys. To make sure that they're stronger and better for living with a child with special needs and keeping that family unit close and tight together. So, I was just blown away by, one, getting a chance to meet you and reviewing through your website, and you're such an incredible individual. And so I like to take a peek behind the curtains of leaders, just incredible leaders, and see what inspires them. And you and I had a chance to connect, and you shared with me 3 points that inspire you. And the first one you shared with me is God is able. Such a powerful statement. So tell us how this inspires you. God is able. What does that mean to you, and how does that lift you up and inspire you?
So, growing up, like you always hear, especially because I grew up in the church, right? So you always grow up hearing about, God is able, God can do anything. We don't put limitations on God, and there's nothing impossible for God. Like all of these things that I grew up hearing, I grew up that people were telling me. And it's one thing for people to tell you that, but it's another thing for you to experience it yourself. Mm-hmm. So for me, watching my son with special needs fight for his life for 6.5 weeks in a hospital, 2 strokes, multiple seizures, resuscitated twice, doctors literally having this look on his face of, we just don't know if this kid's even going to make it out of the hospital, and then verbalizing that to me. And for us to walk out of that hospital and this child be 18 years old right now, God is able. God is able. Amen. For, me to get to a place where I could smile when I think about my mother and not cry, God is able. I lost my mom to cancer several years ago. And she truly was a lifeline for me. This is someone who I talk to sometimes 3 times a day, every day. So she was very much so interwoven into the fabric of my life. And to not have her, for God to call her home, and for me to be able to smile about it right now and recognize the beauty in her not being here suffering anymore, God is able. And I mean, there's just been multiple ways that God has shown up in my life and just allowed me to see for myself how he is willing and able to do any and everything that we ask, right? As long as it aligns with his word. So.
Right. That's amazing. And I have to, and a couple of things that I want to point out from what you shared with me is I can recognize the gratitude that you have, that, you know, God is able to do these things, even though at the time it feels impossible.
Yeah.
That you know and you understand and you recognize and you have faith that God is able to get you through that and to bring a lesson and strength and courage as you get to the other side of it. It doesn't make sense now, but when you get to the other side of it, knowing that God is able to get you through it, there's a lesson on the other side. LaKeesha, that is so powerful. So
I think there's another lesson too, Gary, in that honestly, I said my mom was she was a lifeline for me. At one point, she was in the position that God needed to be in. Ooh. And so sometimes God will allow us to lose our lifeline so that we can turn back to him. And that is definitely something that I had to take away from. Also with my husband, like he was on a pedestal. He was above God. And it's like, God's like, no, what does it say? There will be no other gods before me.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes these things happen because we need to get back in alignment.
Yeah. Connect stronger, closer with God first. It's our first connection point.
Yes.
So true. And then LaKeesha, this flows so well. That the second inspiration point that you shared with me is God won't fail. So share with us how this inspires you, knowing in your heart of hearts, having the faith that just God's not going to fail.
Yeah, so I will fail. I'm going to fail. I have failed multiple times. And what I realized is that I failed because of not being in alignment with God, right?
Yeah.
Not seeking his face first, not getting his guidance and his direction first, trying to do things in and of my own strength with my own two hands.
Yeah.
Right. So when I realized that, man, first of all, I don't have to do everything. There's some things that were not intended for me to do anyway. And the things that I thought I had control over, it was a false sense of control. Because ultimately, who's in control? God. Right? So when I lean, trust, depend, rely, be led by God, I can't fail because he won't fail. Everything that we say that there's nothing impossible for God, right? Going back to that, God is able. Well, he is able to do exceedingly and abundantly above all we could ever ask or think. So with that being said, and the scriptures can't lie, and God is not a God who will lie, right? If he's saying that I can do all things through him who strengthens me, then that means I can't fail because God can't fail, right? In anything that I'm doing, as long as it is in alignment with God, I won't fail. And I know that God will not fail me. And if there's something that does not come into fruition or doesn't manifest itself, most likely it's because it wasn't what God intended for me to have or what he intended for me to do. Wow.
That's powerful. And it makes me think about the scriptures, lean not to our own understanding.
Oh, that's my favorite.
And that's so powerful. And then also, we know God's going to order our steps, and we just have to give God something to work with, and he'll order our steps and will get us, and he won't fail us. And that's, we may think that he's failing us because we fail in the flesh, but it's all part of God's plan to teach us and to help us grow stronger and have courage. LaKeesha, this is just, I'm getting some goosebumps from this conversation. It's so good. It's so good. So the third thing you shared, and I love this theme that you have in our conversation today, is God can use you if you let him. That's the part. So God can use us, but we have to let him. So LaKeesha, tell us what that means for you and how that lifts you up, how that inspires you more.
Yes. So here's the thing. This is what I realized. God wants to use me. Right? We all have a purpose. We all have a plan. So for me, it's like, okay, God, what do you want to use me for? because I know that you can,
Mhm.
and I know that you will, as long as I get out of the way. I use this analogy all the time, Gary. It's about the car. And if you grew up in the church, you probably heard this, where people say, Jesus, take the wheel. Have you heard that before? Jesus,
yeah.
take the wheel. It's like a Christian bumper sticker, t-shirt, the pin, right? And so what does that really mean? It means, God, I'm relinquishing control, and I'm going to allow you to drive my life, i.e. the car, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I've expounded on that. I go beyond Jesus, take the wheel. And because for me, what people mean when they say that, they're like, well, I'm going to be in the passenger seat, right? I'm going to move over, get in the passenger seat and allow God to drive. No. I'm saying, put me in the trunk. Don't put me in the passenger seat. Don't put me in the back seat. Put me in the trunk. I need to be in the trunk, Gary, because this is what has happened with me. I'm sure this is not any of your viewers. I'm sure this hasn't happened to you. So I'll just speak for myself.
All right.
What has happened is, if I'm in the passenger seat, I'm close enough that if I know, or I think I know where we're going, then I'm going to move Jesus, push him out the car, and I'm going to jump back in the driver's seat and try to start driving again.
Yeah.
Right? Also, if I'm in the back seat, I'm now the GPS and I'm navigating. Jesus, go left. And he's saying, no, we need to go right, or we need to keep going forward. But I'm telling him, no. I think, you know what? It's a quicker way. It's quicker if we go left, right?
Yeah.
So we need to be in the trunk, because that is blind faith. And that is what I have to have. When I have blind faith, I'm not interceding. I'm not interjecting. I'm just going with the flow. And I can't jack up anything if I'm in the trunk, because truth be told, my prayers might even change. If I start to see where we're going, I think I know where we're going, and then I think it should look this particular way. So I may even shift my prayer based on what I think I know that God is trying to do or going to do. So I need to be in the trunk and just have that blind faith that he'll just let me out when we get where we're going.
Oh my gosh, that is so brilliant, so funny. I love that, because I think that truly is when you really have to let go and have that just deep faith that God is going, or Jesus is going to, take us to where we need to go, order our steps, drive the vehicle, however you want to call it, to where we need to go. And don't be a side seat driver or a back seat navigator. Let him do the driving. And I think that's so powerful. But, one of the things I want to go back and talk about is, when we say Jesus take the wheel, for me, this is important to remember that for Jesus to take the wheel, we have to have a car. 2, we need to maintain that car. 3, we got to gas it up. So we're doing our part for Jesus to get into the car to drive us where we need to go. And so there's things that we need to do before Jesus can take that wheel. And I love your analogy. I'm going to get in the trunk of the car that I've got so Jesus can take the wheel. I just think that's so profound, so beautiful, LaKeesha.
That's a good point too, Gary. Can I say you added on to this analogy in that, the pre-work, right?
Yeah.
The planning, like you don't ever get in your car not knowing where you're going, right? So there's some planning that takes place. So you're talking about the planning and preparation, but I just want to add on one more thing. We got to invite him in the car.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
More goosebumps.
Invite him in the car.
Yeah. You got to unlock the door he can get in anything he wants, but it's easier for him if you unlock the door, invite him in.
Well, he's a gentleman and he's not going to force himself. Free will, right?
Man,
so
open the door for him.
To come in, open the door for him.
LaKeesha.
Look at some of that good smelling car smell in there.
Wash the car.
Cozy. Wash the car.
Right.
In his seat.
Get it ready. Do all things in excellence, man. I think that's so good. LaKeesha, I love chatting with you. You're so wonderful. I love the inspiration I get from just talking to you. Is so wonderful. And I want to give you a chance, because we're getting close to the end of our time, but I want to give you a chance to share a closing thought before we wrap up today.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think these 3 points, Gary, have really been about what inspires me. It's God.
Mm,
Everything that I do is ministry. Everything that I do is to help build up his kingdom. And, we're all capable. None of
mhm.
us are without the ability to minister to someone else or to help to build up God's kingdom. And you're doing that with your show. You're doing that with the books that you've written. And I mean, ultimately, that's what it's about, right? For God to get the glory. So I'm inspired by just one soul being saved, and one person saying, you know what, I'm going to release my false sense of control and allow God to take over control of my life. And it's a journey every single day. I'm
Mm.
not perfect. I have to remind myself that, wait, I think I'm in the back seat. I need to get back in the trunk. So it's something that is a daily struggle. But I mean, there's nothing impossible for God. And again, what motivates me is just knowing that I've done a job well done and that he's pleased with what it is
Mm.
that I'm doing.
Oh, well, great job, my well and faithful servant. That's what we all hope to hear
Yes.
when we get there. So, LaKeesha, it's been so wonderful to chat with you and to hear what inspires you, and we can share this with the people, our audience here, and hopefully, and I'm believing it will inspire them as well. Guys, y'all make sure you check out LaKeesha Hines, her website, LaKeeshaHines.com. We're going to put all that information in the show notes, but I want you to connect with her. Check out her website, and one, you're just going to get inspired. She's a fire starter, just to build that fire up inside you so that you can take it to the next level as a life coach. If you have a child or know somebody with special needs, she's the one to get connected with. If you're in a relationship, she's the one to get connected with. So please check out LaKeeshaHines.com. Money back guarantee. You won't regret it. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us today. LaKeesha, thank you for joining us and sharing with
Thank
us
you.
today. And we will see you on the next episode of the Super Fantastic Exchange. Thank y'all.